All right, so welcome. Just wanted to give a brief introduction about Second Sight. We have been around now for about 6.5 years and started out with our FairPick scale system, kind of with the idea that paying by weight is a more accurate and fair way to pay, as well as moving away from handwritten or punch cards to basically moving towards more electronic ways of recording things to minimize manual data entry, improve accuracy. So we do offer now a handful of products depending on whether you pay by weight, by piece, or by time to capture that information out in the field to be able to get the data you need to kind of know where your labor costs are going, as well as just have that data ready to run for your payroll. So I'm going to start off by just walking through a few of kind of the features of our portal and then move to kind of showing you a little bit more about the app side of things. Looks like we've got Beth now joining in here. All right. And again, let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'll try to answer those, as well as let me know if you do have any trouble seeing or hearing anything. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. All right, so this is the online portal. It gives you, it's kind of the command center. So you can access this anywhere from a laptop, computer, connected to the internet. It's where you set your information up, kind of put your employees into the system, and then where the data all syncs up to. So here you'll see we have a handful of units actually connected to this demo account here. So if you have a scale or a handheld, those all will show up here and give you the most up-to-date sync time. If you would like to basically add users, depending on how many folks will be accessing this, you do have the option to give people different roles so that they can see things and not edit them, but fairly straightforward. What's great is you do kind of get to see who's been doing what with data editing or piece rate changes. So it's really great opportunity to kind of track who's been doing what on the portal with the user accounts. And then I'm just going to go down and actually explain a little bit more about in general how all of our products work, which with these tasks and lists. So a task is kind of like a job or an activity you want to keep track of. It could be anything from hourly work, harvesting, pruning. So these are all just sample tasks we've actually put into our system, but these are all customizable as to what you'll be keeping track of. You can be as kind of general or specific as you'd like. And then when it comes to adding more information, you can add up to 5 lists per these tasks. So under harvesting, you might want to know a crew, a variety, a block, all of that. You can really dive down and get more specific with the data there. And then, as I mentioned, we have systems to record all types of different jobs now. So with our handheld system, you'd be able to basically record hours and pieces, even containers. So if you're interested in actually paying by the container to not only give credit to the employee, but also start linking that employee to the bin, for example, our app would allow you to do that with basically these different types of tasks. And then you'll see behind me here, we have a scale. So if you're interested in paying by weight, that would be a weigh type task. So we tried to cover our bases with all the different ways that farm employees are being paid. And as I said, these are all just sample tasks we have in our system. And then it's as easy as putting in a task name, selecting your lists, and then we have the option to integrate with your payroll. So if you have specific codes associated with jobs, you can input those here as well. So it's really easy to set up and change and kind of really record what's important to you and your farm. And I'll just show you here some examples of the lists we have. Variety lists, location, but again, these are all as easy as adding in what's important to keep track of for your operation. All right. And then the last thing I'll show here in regards to our FairPick scales is the ability to basically put in what people will be weighing. So associating it with a tare weight, as well as some other information. You can even put your variety in specifically for a container and you also have the option with a lot of our products, again, to have that tracking ability. So if you want to actually keep track of the container and start that linkage with the employee and the container out in the field, that is an option as well. So again, very customizable and easy to add new pieces of information up here on the portal. And then a quick note about piece rates and rates here. The piece rate is linked to a specific container with our scale systems. They're also linked to a specific task, a piece type task or a container type task. What's great about these piece rates is they are flexible. You control them online here, so you can actually set back, let's say a piece rate changed at lunchtime. After the data uploads, you can actually adjust that piece rate as needed by setting that date and time stamp for when that piece rate should take effect. So again, really flexible to be able to handle piece rate changes based on if you're weighing or paying piece rate for pruning, and a really nice way to see kind of the history of what you've been paying for per weight or per piece. So that is kind of how our rates work there. And I'm going to move over now and talk a little bit about our employees. So really easy to add an employee one at a time. And really our system just requires, the most important thing is actually the employee ID, and then of course the badge number linked to their cards. So with our system, we use, all of our systems, we use RFID cards as the employee badges. RFID cards are great because they can get dirty and wet and can handle being outside and being put in pockets and being beat around a bit and still scan with our systems. And they also can be programmed to different people. So if somebody leaves, you can still get their card back and reprogram it to a new employee. That is, I would say, some of the benefits here with these RFID cards. And it works really well. We find too, people buy the little plastic sleeves with a badge reel. So it's really quick for folks to scan in their badges with our various systems. So easy to add an employee. You can, again, link them up with specific payroll codes for your payroll systems. We kind of give you lots of options to put in various codes if you are kind of directly importing into your payroll software. And then once you get an employee into our system, we actually do have the option, of course, of importing a list. So if we already have a list going in Excel, we can definitely help you get those into the system here. And then you'll see we've got a handful of folks in here. And we're just actually kind of implementing hourly rates as well. So you do have the option now to actually associate an employee not only with piece rate work, but also with hourly rate information. There's some other little features here. You can add a note or flag somebody as maybe somebody you wouldn't want to hire in the future. All kind of feedback we've received from customers over the year that would make the system just little odds and ends that would make it easier to use, or things that people are looking for. And then let's see, I'm going to go back to our employee list here. And then that last piece is actually programming the badge to that employee. And we use our program called the registration station to do that. And once you kind of get the employee in the portal here, it's as easy as basically finding their name in the list, using what looks like a little USB stick with your computer and just holding that card up to the USB stick to program it. So it's, again, takes all of but maybe a minute to start to finish, add an employee into the system. And of course, with the importing, that can save even more time of your employee list. So, all right. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pop open what is our FairTrack app. And so what I'm doing here is actually just displaying the software from this handheld onto the computer screen here. A little bit about the handhelds and really all of our hardware in general. We designed everything to basically for the ag environment. We want to make sure we know that things have to be a little bit tougher out there, can take some water and dirt and grime and being dropped and all of that. So all of our systems are designed for kind of industrial use. These rugged handhelds can actually sync data through Wi-Fi as well as a SIM card if you're interested in more of that real-time data. And the card reader is built in. We have a built-in 1D and 2D barcode scanner for that container kind of tracking out in the field. And then the, like I said, in general, they're just meant for industrial purposes. They've got some cool features that actually allow you to kind of lock the handheld down so that people out in the field are only using it for the FairTrack and our pieces of software. And then this is just one of our apps called the FairTrack. I would say it's our most flexible in the sense it can clock people in and out, also log the number of pieces, and then do that container scanning out in the field as well. And really, it's just as simple as you'll see our tasks, just example tasks in here. I'm just going to say we're clocking this person into the hourly task, and you can change any of that list information with just the tap of the menus here. And then, of course, the scan of the badge. And that's it. Just a quick note, we do have the options to print with any of our systems as well. With the handheld here, we have a rugged Bluetooth printer that pairs up nicely so people can actually print in the field, their clock ins and pieces and outs. With our scale systems, we have the printers integrated as well. I know that for a lot of employees, it's important to have something to take home with them to prove what they accomplished for the day. So those are always options with our systems. So this person's clocked in. Let's go ahead and actually clock somebody in. We'll do a piece task as well. You'll see we have different list items here. We can go ahead, change some. All right, ready to clock in. Grab another badge here, scan them in. And now let's say we're ready to actually log the number of pieces. We'll just scan the badge. At this point, we can enter an account, change any information if needed. We actually have this kind of cool little ABC select that some berry growers are using to kind of note the quality that pickers are bringing up. So if they actually bring up 2 bad buckets or 3, then they get a little warning message and can be kind of sent home at that point. If 3 strikes, you're out kind of a deal. So we have some cool little features like that that have all been commissioned by customers. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. What's great with this FairTrack and the summary screen, you can see what people have been up to for the day. So we know that this person's clocked in. And then we can see again what they've been clocking into and even have that option to print from this screen as well. All right, let's say we're ready to clock this person out. And we're good. Done. So I want to show you one other kind of cool feature that a lot of folks are using now too, which is with our Crew Boss badge. And this actually gives you the ability, once an employee has been scanned into the system, to kind of move them around. So if a whole crew needs to be clocked into a different field or a different job, this Crew Boss card will give you that ability. So let's say we're going to clock everybody now into container. I'm going to scan this Crew Boss card, and I can say, okay, everybody's moving over there. And at this point, if needed, you can actually even adjust the time. If somebody missed, maybe, whoops, we actually moved over 10 minutes ago, you could change that and then save it so everybody's clocked in together on that. And then same idea here, if you wanted to clock everybody out at the same time, you could do that as well. And that's it. We designed all of our software, at least on the app side, to be as simple as possible because we know that various level of employees will be using this with various technology skills. So we wanted to make the apps themselves out in the field as simple and easy to use as possible. It's great the handhelds can actually be completely turned into different languages. So if you choose Spanish, the whole handheld will be in Spanish, the app will change to Spanish, and then of course you set up the tasks. So if you set up the task names however you need to, you could do it in English and Spanish. Another little kind of feature on here is the note section. You can just send little messages from the field up to the portal about whatever, if an employee lost a badge or something wasn't clocked in correctly, or even an irrigation leak, you can add a note, which is kind of a cool little feature here, and you can review them up at the office. And then let me switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to show you another app we have as an option if you're recording pieces. And this is called our Quick Pick. We have a grower specifically who commissioned this doing tomato harvest, and it's such a fast-paced harvest that they needed something that every time a badge would be scanned, it would log 2 buckets. And so it makes it very straightforward for people to come up, scan a badge, and receive credit. So right now I've got it set every time a badge is scanned, they get credit for that number. And there's actually a time limit set, so people can't double scan. So if you know it takes at least 30 seconds to go fill up 2 more buckets, you could set that time in there. As you'll see here, you can adjust the number. Let's say now they only get 1, and we know it takes them at least 10 seconds to scan. So just cool little ways to prevent cheating. Folks like to get creative, so it won't let you scan that badge in that amount of time. So Quick Pick is a great option if you're just logging kind of the same amount every time somebody comes up. Again, kind of as simple as it gets, but it still gives you that ability as well to clock in and clock out, get the time worked, as well as the pieces. And then the last app I'll show you is what our FairPick looks like here. And we have 2 options when it comes to our FairPick scale system. It kind of depends on what you're looking for in terms of simplicity versus more features. Our FairPick Lite system here gives you more features. There are definitely a bunch of different ways you can kind of configure it. You can have it only display the net weight instead of all the gross tare and net. You can set it so that it doesn't require that stability for 3 seconds. Basically a bunch of different ways to configure it. Of course, with more features comes a little bit more complexity, so you have to be comfortable enough running a kind of a rugged smartphone out in the field. This looks a lot like our other apps. You have that ability to clock into a task, different lists, change those. These are where our containers come into play. So you could say, yep, I'm weighing buckets right now. Have them clock in. And then right now, this would be the weighing. I don't have this handheld set up to our scale here, but it's as simple as putting something on the scale. It registers the weight, saves it. The way we have it kind of set up by default is it requires 3 seconds of stability in order for the weight to register, and that's to prevent cheating again, so that people can't kind of lean on that scale and add extra weight to it. But takes only a handful of seconds to weigh, and again, always having that option to print the receipt after every weigh, and then of course get your clock out time as well. And kind of if you see behind me here, you'll see the scale system set up. This is our pro system, so this is as simple as it gets. Put the bucket on the scale.
Scan badge.
Tells you what to do.
Remove items.
And then of course, again, that option to print is always there for the employee if they'd like a record, or at the end of the day, they can hit that clock out button, scan their badge and print, which will give them a totals receipt. So those are kind of our options with our apps. If you're looking specifically for just keeping track of maybe a handful of workers that are always out and about doing various things, maybe even all year round, we do offer a mobile clock app that runs on either an iPhone or Android device and allows you to simply just clock in and clock out to various tasks. So again, we tried to cover all of our bases to keep track of any type of work that's going on at the farm. And I'm going to switch back over now to our portal. And what we have here is called our task log. And the task log is kind of like the raw data. So everything that comes up or is recorded on our devices comes up to this log with a date and a time stamp. You'll actually not see it, but anytime our devices are logging things, it also records the GPS coordinate. So that's in the background. And if you're ever interested in doing yield mapping, we're always kind of excited to see how people want to use that GPS data with the weights or pieces. But you get a lot of information here: who's scanned in, what time, what job, and then of course your list information, where they're at, what variety, all of that as well. So this is kind of your raw data. You have the option to do a bunch of filtering on it if you're looking for something specific. And then from here too, you have the option to edit. So if somebody used the wrong badge all day, clocked into the wrong task, we have editing options here to do batch edits, which should save you time. And then we even have kind of a cool new import feature that allows you to change data in Excel and then re-upload it, which can also be a huge time saver if the whole crew clocked into the wrong thing. So we definitely learned that people still make mistakes as simple as you get. So there are a lot of ways to fix those, but you do have the option here to hit that download button, and it will put you in to basically put this data right into Excel for you in a CSV file. So if you ever wanted to do your own number crunching, or kind of if you're savvy with Excel, you can do a bunch of other things with that downloaded data from this task log. However, we do offer a few standard reports that get you totals per employee. And this really gets you totals, how many hours they've worked. These little message boxes actually say something looks like something's missing. So maybe it's a clock out that's missing, or clock in. And then when you expand it, you get to see what that person was up to. Again, how many hours they've worked, how many pieces. So it's a really great snapshot of what was going on for the day for that. For everybody who was working, you'll see some nice totals boxes up here. Any day that actually is green box means there's data on there. The orange boxes are current day, and then it's easy to navigate back to previous months and see what everybody's been up to. This is just one of our standard reports that we often tell people at the end of the day or every couple days, just to review to see what people have been doing. If you need to make some changes, it's always easier to do it on a daily basis. And then you have the nice option to actually click on the person's name to see what they were doing for that day. It takes you right to that task log that's filtered. So it's really easy to see what that person was doing. So that is kind of our first standard report. And this pay period report is another one. It looks pretty similar. The only difference here is we have a couple more ways to filter. So we can run this for a specific date range, as well as filter on a couple different items. If you have various jobs, you kind of run separately. But same idea, you get some really good totals. I would say half of our customers use these standard reports to get the information they need to run payroll. And then the other report that can come in handy is what we call our employee receipt. Same idea, filter on what you need, and then it gives a nice picture for an employee of what they were up to for that date range. And it does a really nice job of kind of putting it in a format that's easy to print. And so we have a handful of customers that print out these employee receipt reports and actually attach it to the employee paychecks. It gives them exactly why you were paid this way, how many pieces, how many hours for that date range. And then we have a handful of reports now that are custom reports that people commission to basically, I would say for the most part, integrate right into their payroll. So we put the data in the columns that you need in the right format. So all you have to do is run your date range, hit that download button, and then import that file into your payroll software. We work with AgStar, Datatech, GrowPoint. There's a handful we have already set up and ready to go for those payroll softwares. I know Famous is another one that I have all the spec sheets to do it and is pretty similar to our Datatech file. So kind of depends how streamlined you want to get. Like I said, half of our customers use these standard reports to run their numbers. And then the other half have custom reports to just further streamline that whole payroll process. But that's really I would say the beauty of the portal is just this ability to log in after your data is synced up for the day and see exactly what was happening for that day, to know, what the weight is coming in from the field, how many pieces, people were able to prune for the day. And then last thing I'll show you here, the little pieces of software to download to register those badges are located up here as well. And then we do have our resources. So we have some manuals and videos. And then I would say what of course is important, especially with harvest time, is that the 24/7 support is included in our annual fees. So you can call this number at any time of day if there's an issue or question, and you will talk to somebody, if not immediately, within 15 to 20 minutes, and likely get your question answered or the problem figured out. So I would say we definitely know how important that is when things are always need to happen quickly, especially, like I said, during that harvest time. So that is kind of the portal for us. And typically every year we call up our customers and say, hey, what can we make better? Yeah, what features would make your life easier? And really that hourly rate implementation this year was because of a customer who kind of commissioned it. But the great part is a lot of other customers benefit from that. And that all, again, is lumped into that annual fee as you get any of these kind of software upgrades, the 24/7 support. And then, of course, this portal all is in the cloud. So we back up and update and keep our servers running and such. Kind of on the data security side, you can trust your data safe. We don't share data unless we ask. And then we've never had an instance of just data disappearing. We do everything we can on the app side to store the data actually on the handheld itself on an SD card in here as well. And then, of course, data is being backed up on the portal and the cloud. And then as soon as you download it onto your computer, you also have it there. So data in many locations to try to prevent that data loss. Like I said, haven't seen it yet. We've done everything we can. And then, yeah, I think that's about what I have. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here and see if there are any questions.